Okay, part two. Um, I'm more than just a number, and I say that because, as I said in my first taping, was I felt like an object, and now I feel like a number. And as I stated last time, I had an IRS agent come to my home first thing in the morning, and his name was Chad. I think I said that, and he wanted to sit down right then and there and figure out how we were going to get this paid. And keep in mind, my partner still doesn't know. And to tell him, again, I was willing to compromise and risk, for some reason, I don't know why, the most vulnerable part of my life, I felt like Wonder Woman. I felt like this powerful Power Ranger woman that could just handle everything on my own. And sometimes I look back about it at the situation, and I kind of feel like now a villain, not allowing anybody to come in and help me. I wanted nobody to know about it. I was full of shame that I had let this go, and I had a different understanding of money at that time too. So through these transitions, there's been milestones of growth for me. And that's why I said in episode 1, I don't regret. I don't regret because I love the person I am today. So understand that before I lead into what happened next. So Chad gave me a list. I was overwhelmed. I felt threatened. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. And I panicked. And I sought out help from what I thought was a trusting tax firm or tax lawyers. It was Polston Tax. They're out of Oklahoma City. And they are the biggest scam. It's a scam. I mean, they absolutely drove the start of our case, into the ground. And that's what led to the IRS contacting Jeff at work. So, I contacted Polston Tax out of Oklahoma City. I believe the attorney that was going to help me and save, the day was Cami Batner. Batner, I think, is her name. I'm dropping names right now. This is where it's moving to. So she made me a ton of promises, asked me to send her a deposit of $24,000. I had it. I was desperate. I was scared. She knew I was scared, and she preyed on that. I turned over a power of attorney to her to help me get through this case. So then I'm thinking, okay, I've got somebody that's in my lifeboat. I've got a legit agency that is going to help me move through this and put us into a payment plan, and it's all going to be okay. And you're probably sitting here thinking, how the fuck did he not know? That's how disattached. His claim is that I never wanted him to know about the finances. Mine, yes, to a certain extent. But the way we communicated about finances was I felt like an accountant that worked for this man. It wasn't a partnership. It wasn't a husband and wife, obviously, because husband and wives can go to one another and say, I need help. This is where we're at. I felt like it was ran like a business, and it was. So I hired Polston Tax, and they rammed me up the ass, which is okay now because this is leading to where I am today. So what happened was they failed to file in a timely fashion a hearing to talk about my case, to where we could negotiate and try to get a payment plan, try to get in motion, and they failed to do that. The little girl, what was her name? I can't remember her name, worked for Cami. this big attorney, this big shot attorney that was in Oklahoma, dropped the ball and did not file our paperwork in a timely fashion. So, in a business aspect, that gave Chad the go-ahead to file a lien and put a lien on us. Well, that lien came through to my husband's work. And it surprised him because he had no idea what was going on. The day that he found out that I hadn't paid taxes was an interesting day. Because when he came home out of the blue, and it was on a Friday, and he was furious. I mean, imagine. I mean, I have a light heart and a light tone about it, and it wasn't light. It wasn't anywhere near that. And it went down. It wasn't, he was just disgusted. Said I'd ruined his world. I ruined everything. He had nothing, had absolutely nothing. And to this day, he claims he has nothing. Materialistically. So I flipped a switch. I went from panic. Now keep in mind, I'm still alone. I had a couple of friends. Sam didn't even really know at this time what was going on, because I was so embarrassed and I was so full of shame. And I decided that it was so unrealistic that I no longer wanted to live, because it might be easier, because I felt less than zero. I was going to slit my wrists with some really sharp butcher knives. When you go to that spot, some people just don't get it. They think, how can you do that to your kids? How can you do that? How do you do that? Well, you don't think about that when you're sitting on a floor rocking back and forth after carrying so much. The gorilla was off my back, and I will be honest, I felt relieved. I honestly felt relieved. When he came in that day, there was no emotion. But that relief wasn't enough to shift my emptiness and my despair and my worry of how I was going to figure this out. Because he was very clear to me that I got us into this and I was going to get us out. And I thought, which is unrealistic because I used to sell life insurance, I'm better off dead. And the only thing that day that changed my thinking, I don't even know that it changed my thinking, but caused me to move, was my big black lab. Because she knew something wasn't right. And she didn't leave my side the entire day. It probably started about 11 o'clock. I sat in the corner of my bedroom and wouldn't let it go. But Natty wouldn't leave me alone. She would not leave me alone. She pawed at me. She laid on me. And then before I knew it, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And Grace was going to be home. And I thought, how can she walk into this? So I got up and I walked away. And I still was struggling with trying to figure everything out. But I got up and I walked away, went to bed that night, and knew that the next day was a new day. That's all I knew. Now keep in mind, my partner had decided to leave. He was so angry and he just felt like his world was over. Like, it's crazy because it was over money and honesty. And he wasn't here. He wasn't in the house. He was staying with friends. And I was literally alone. So what's next is to do what I've always done to get through it. The wrath that I encountered was horrendous. But living and moving through this, I can't even tell you. I can't even explain to you. I can't explain to you how I did it. I don't know. I don't know. But I stepped away from that darkness and that chatter. The chatter in someone's head when they're at such a dark spot, that chatter is insanely powerful. And the chatter is not the things that you think should be said. The chatter is the darkness and the despair and the depression and the stress and the fear and the anxiety talking to you, pounding you, reminding you how worthless you are. And I don't know where I'd be without my black lab. Okay, on to episode 3. Thanks, guys, for hanging with me.